Now, I was about to launch straight into the Cressida Dick story, but you will have just heard in the headlines there reference to the Canadian truckers, everything that's going on in Ottawa. And I didn't realise, but one of my panellists, Frank Furedi, you just described yourself as Canadian, and you had a strong response to that headline story. I'm intrigued as to your thoughts about what is going on over in Canada.
Well, to me, it's very much like the Brexit moment has arrived in Canada, and what you have is a lot of people making a decision to take matters into their own hands, people who've been ignored. It all began as a reaction against an attempt to force people, only those drivers who had vaccinations could cross the border from America to Canada and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have begun protesting against using mandates, vaccination mandates, but it's now spread out. And a lot of important other issues have been raised. And if you talk to the people that are on the demonstration, they're just ordinary folk who are just fed up with being ignored and marginalized. And basically, a lot of Canadians want to have a voice. And I think what's interesting is that the Prime Minister Trudeau, the Liberal Prime Minister Trudeau, treats these protesters as if they're somehow right-wing fascists, just for the very simple reason that they want a bit of freedom from themselves. And it's not turning into a literal political revolt, which I find, sort of quite inspiring, that ordinary people have got this incredible creativity to essentially paralyze the capital city. But also it's spreading out all over Canada now. It's going to French Canada, Quebec City, Manitoba, Alberta. They're all having their own freedom convoys. So it's a very exciting moment. Yeah,
and by the way, it's not just over there. It's happening in Europe. There's been talk of it happening in the UK. It's really captured the mindsets, the momentum of people. I think, Frank, the way that Trudeau has responded to this has been appalling. Yeah. He calls these people a fringe minority, often dismisses them as racist, misogynist, extreme individuals. And I think you're quite right, to draw the parallels with the whole Brexit scenario. And also I would draw the parallels as well. Remember with the yellow vests, the gilets jaunes, all those protests that were going on. And I find it such a fascinating kind of scenario where you've got the ordinary people saying, no, we don't want our lives impacted by this. And the response of the establishments is to dismiss them, smear them, rubbish them. You've had a state of emergency, of course, declared, haven't you, in Ottawa? And I also found it fascinating. I don't know if you saw what happened with the fundraising. Did you see the fundraising was frozen?
That's right. And not only that, but if you, as an ordinary citizen, give some food to the truck drivers, you could be arrested for that. If you give them some money, you can be arrested for that.
Whereas, I think, if I could say, if these were Extinction Rebellion protesters sticking themselves to the streets and parking their vehicles to block everybody up, the establishment in Canada wouldn't dream of even touching them. They'd be out there cheering them on.
Yes. Going out, feeding them and all the rest of it, I suspect. I've taken us off topic there. Nabila, did you want to come in at all? You don't have to, by the way, because this is not what I was supposed to be talking about, but I couldn't resist when I found out that Frank was Canadian.
There are going to be truckers' demonstrations in Paris or indeed across France at the weekend, and there could be a possibility that it might turn violent, in fact. I mean, of course, France has seen violent protesters in the likes of the Gilets jaunes that you mentioned. And I think the truckers' protests will extend beyond Trudeau's views on, what they're effectively protesting against. But I think in France it will extend to protests against what the Macron administration stands for as well, beyond what the truckers' initial grievances are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking as well, by the way, some of the threats to these people. The Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, he's declared a 42-hour state of emergency, threatened vehicle seizures, fines of about $80,000, jail time of up to a year, suspension of commercial licenses to punish these protesters. And I can't help but wonder how long this will rumble on for, because, Frank, these truckers, they're very passionate in what they're doing. They have a lot of momentum and support. And I don't see this ending anytime soon, do you?
I don't. And especially because the Canadian political establishment copied Hillary Clinton, who called people like the truckers deplorables. They really angered people, I mean, all across, from all kind of backgrounds. And what's interesting is that even in small towns in the other part of Canada, in the eastern seaboard, you're getting a lot of people rising up and saying, we want a voice, we want to be part of the conversation, we don't want to be ignored, and that's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, Mark has emailed in already and said, when it comes to the Canadian truckers, he says it's a war against the working class by the elites. Interesting. I do like a little bit of spontaneous discussion. That wasn't on my agenda, but so what? If you can't go off piste on your own show, what can you do?